1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. National Paranormal Day was initially celebrated in the United States in 2013. Each year, it is observed on May 3rd. Most feel this date was chosen in order to recognize and commemorate the death of American author and researcher Charles Fort. Fort is thought to be the best-known collector of paranormal anecdotes with greater than 40,000 notes. Paranormal is simply defined as not scientifically explainable or supernatural. It includes such things as clairvoyance, telekinesis, ghosts, poltergeists, human auras, and UFOs. National Paranormal Day was created in order to give those who believe in the paranormal a chance to share their experiences with each other. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing? Oh, I have a cold again. How are you?
Why are you always sick?
I don't know. I think it's because of my kids.
Petri dishes.
Yes.
Okay, well, so Paranormal Day was actually at the beginning of the month, but everything else kind of trumps the dead. Cut that out.
Don't say that. They're going to come back and haunt you.
I know. When we reached out to all of you about sending us different stories on varying categories, we plugged in paranormal, and we have got, I think I said this in a previous episode, a doozy. And this is coming from in Nashville. She did not want to leave any other identifying information because there is some somewhat personal information in here. But she has had a lifelong of paranormal stuff that has happened to her.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm going to, I've read through this a while ago. We were supposed to do this last week, so I haven't refreshed. I might stumble a little bit on some of the things. And I meant to email her some questions as I went along for clarification on things, but we can always do that for the next episode. So if you think of questions, jot them down. And listeners, if you guys think of questions, write them down and we'll get some answers. Okay, so off we go. So she started off the email with, even though I don't think of these things as one big story, when you put them all together like this, it seems larger than it is. At times, it has been pretty scary. Other times, just a strange event that I can't explain. That's how I choose to see these things, stuff in my life that doesn't make sense. We all have that. One of my first memories is being asleep at my grandmother's house. I was in a strange room in a bed near the open door. My sister was in another bed further in the room. I could see into the hallway because we had asked my mom to leave the light on. I think I was around 4 or 5. And out of nowhere, the end of the bed near the door bounced up and down 3 bounces. Bounce, bounce, bounce. I was still half asleep, but I remember barely opening my eyes and not seeing anything. As soon as I closed my eyes, it happened again. This time, in my child's mind, I thought that I must have been bouncing my feet and making the bed move. So I bounced my feet against a mattress to make it move. It
Mm.
wasn't until I was fully awake that I realized the bed bouncing would occur just before I bounced my feet each time. I was too young to be scared, but I tried to explain it to my mother the next day. I remember she barely listened and went along with what she was doing. I still wasn't scared. I just thought about it for a long time, then
How old,
let it go.
how old was she
She
again?
was around 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
So I know I gave you a hard time about being sick again, but I have a sore throat. So I'm going to be sipping on my tea to every once in a while. So bear with me. The next year, my mother had me walk home from school alone at 5 years old. My grandfather had died and we had to move. It was a new school. It was the first day and the house was just a few blocks away with one turn. I was scared and I told her I couldn't do it, but she couldn't come get me. So I had no choice. Anyway, I got lost. I remember walking down a strange street crying because I didn't know where I was. I was looking all around me and nothing looked familiar. Then I looked back again and there was an old man. He came up to me and squatted down with his hand on my back. He told me it was going to be okay, calmed me down, and pointed to a house. He told me to go to that house and they would take me home. I told him I don't know anyone at that house and I was afraid to go to it. Again, he reassured me to just go to the house, so I began walking. As I got closer to the house, I looked back to the man to make sure I was going to the right house, but he had gone. I didn't see him anywhere. When I looked back toward the house, I saw a child in the yard with her mother. I walked into her yard and she took me home. I tried to tell my mother that a man had told me which house to go to, but she said it didn't happen, that my friend's mother just happened to see me walking down the street. She didn't see the man. I can still remember him and what he was wearing, but not his face. I don't remember his face. I don't even remember his mouth moving, just that he pointed and told me which house to go to.
Ooh, that's creepy.
I know. I don't remember anything else strange happening until I was about 20. I was newly married, so we bought a house and had lived in it for about a year. He worked nights, I worked days, and he was staying out all night with his friends. I had no idea what was going on, but he was going out to get high and seeing his ex-girlfriend. We had 2 small children that I was taking care of alone and didn't understand why things were going so wrong. I've always been a calm person, but full of anxiety. Only I'm the type of person that you can't tell when anything is wrong. Up until then, my childhood had been full of trauma and craziness. We moved twice a year and changed schools because my dad wouldn't work, and then he left my mother to raise us alone. We were extremely poor, and my mother's emotions were erratic at best. I'm sure she was in a full-blown depression. Getting married after some fairly serious trauma, other things in my life, and having a family was my dream, and I had been forcing it to work no matter what. I didn't care if he loved me. I didn't care if he was sneaking around. I simply was not going back to my mother's house one way or another. I was working and planning and trying to be perfect, be the perfect wife, like we all do at 20. Nothing special was going on that I can think of. It was just a regular day. I did laundry and went to bed alone. Sometime in the middle of the night, my husband came home and was asleep. I noticed him laying next to me, but he was unconscious and I was only half awake. All of the lights were out and the house was dead silent. Then suddenly, as I'm sleeping, the room filled with light. Only it wasn't like light from a lamp. It was a light and it was alive. The light came toward me, and before I could say anything or make out what was going on, a feeling of complete relaxation, love, and peace came over
Oh.
me. All of my stress and worry and everything inside of me melted away into this blissful, euphoric feeling. I remember saying to it, "Oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like." Then it was gone. It completely and absolutely disappeared as fast as it appeared. Along with it leaving, the euphoric feeling went with it. I could feel myself slowly wake up and return to myself. I was still myself and still had all of my worries, but they were softer and not as intrusive. The next night, I wondered if the light would come back. It didn't. I waited for years for the light to come back, but it never did. I longed for the light and that feeling to come back. I wanted to go back to the light. It didn't return, but the message was clear. That was what I was supposed to be feeling. That is how my life was supposed to be, and I've chased that calm ever since. I was always a calm person, but now I'm more calm inside. That feeling would carry me through a lot of trauma that was to come. Not long after, my husband entered rehab and we soon divorced. During his rehab, I was given the book The Search for Serenity by his NARC Anon/AA counselor. He told me to read it, that it might help me even though I wasn't addicted to anything. I left that book laying around for a year. We were divorced. He had moved another girl into my house. I was going to school. I took the class Psychology of Personal Adjustment because it sounded interesting. In the class, our assignment was to read a self-help book and write a paper on how it helped us or didn't help us and how we applied it to our life. Not having money to spend on books, I pulled out The Search for Serenity and decided to read it. In the prologue of the book, the founder of AA tells a story of how a light came to him in his sleep and changed his life. Even though his experience was longer and much more detailed, it validated my experience and gave me hope for my life. My father died a week after my oldest son was born. I never truly had a life with him in it, but remember him fondly. Even though he moved around a lot in the 70s, hitchhiked across America, did hippie things, and had a gambling problem. Hearing that he had died and knowing that I would never get the chance to get close to him was devastating, but I accepted it as I had accepted many of the other difficulties I had experienced. Life went on. Like I said before, I've always been a calm person, very quiet until recently. I'm a very smart, logical person, even though I tend to come across as an airhead. I don't take a lot seriously and roll with the punches. So my father was not even in my mind during the period following. One night, I had a dream about my father. We were in a long white hallway that opened up into a larger space with a few doors to the left. My father was telling me that he was sorry. He was so sorry about what was going to happen to me. I couldn't understand what he was talking about. His mouth didn't move, but I felt what he was saying. There was another man with us, but he was just a shadow. I couldn't see him directly. I just knew he was there. My father is trying to explain, and the man comes up to me and begins to rub his hands all over me. I'm upset and say, "Dad, stop him. Aren't you going to do anything?" He just began to cry because he was helpless and couldn't move. The man then kept touching me and pulled my father away into one of the rooms at the same time. The dream ended, but I was left with a feeling that I was suffering for the things that my father had done in his life, or that I was going to suffer for the things that my father had done. In a way, I was being punished as a means of torturing my father. I blew the dream off, as you do, but I was a bit shaken by it and what it could possibly mean. A year or so later, I had another dream about my father. This time, it was pitch black. He and I and a few other men were sitting around a campfire. There were a few other people and things to my left. They were just shadows that I couldn't quite make out. My father was sitting on my left and didn't say anything at all during the entire dream. Then the man on my right at the campfire turns to me. He tells me that they are going to take my 2-year-old, that he is going to become theirs, that they will use him to serve their purposes. I'm a little shocked, and I tell him that he's ridiculous. "No, you're not. You can't have my child." Then he says, "Oh, you don't know who I am." Then he opens his mouth and blackness comes out. I'm overcome with a feeling of evil and darkness and everything rotting and putrid. It was 2 seconds of complete blackness and a feeling of horror, but I wasn't afraid. Then the dream is over. I woke up shaken, but still not scared. I don't know if it was because I was too young to be afraid or if there's some inner calm that carries me through these things. Maybe God lives in me and protects me from evil. I like to believe that's what it is. My son continued to grow and was completely normal, healthy, and safe. I didn't think about the dream for years. Another 9 years go by. No light, nothing weird that I can remember. I dated one guy who was extremely controlling and crazy. He became a stalker that I literally hid from. I started a new job and moved out of my mother's house. After the divorce, I had to move back in with her and endure her crazy emotions. She's fine now and a really nice lady. I was single and had been single for most of the 9 years. No one asked me out. I worked all of the time, took care of the kids. We had gotten into a routine of them now 11 and 13, going to bed at 8:30, giving me several hours of alone time. I was lonely and bored and had no real plans for the future. I had no idea what to do with anything or with myself. I ordered books from a book club, the buy one, get five free that you never pay for.
I used to do that too.
I know, and movies and CDs, I think, too.
Mhm.
I picked out one or two books and filled the remaining spaces with random titles. Among the random titles was The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need, some historical thriller that I never looked at and later gave to my 35-year-old virgin brother-in-law, not realizing it was a historical porn by Harold Robbins. Let's see. That's another unfortunate story that my now sister-in-law refuses to accept was an accident. And a book on how to see auras. I wasn't really interested in any of that, being a Christian and all, but I ran out of other books and was desperate for something new. I read the astrology book and learned everything I needed to know about astrology. Then I started the book on auras. I never did see an aura, but it was cool. It got me interested in all things mystical. I thought I won't read anything really wrong, just read about cool, weird things. I decided I wanted to read more fun, cool, weird things. So I went to a bookstore and found books on tarot reading, how to talk to your spirit guide, and other things that I thought were completely silly at the time. They were little books and not detailed. It was all I could afford. The kids would go to bed and I would read about weird things. I liken it to reading a horror story or something semi-scary. It did not occur to me in my naive mind that anything would come of it. I was delivering mail. I'm not going to say the location since she did want to remain a little bit private. So it was, I think she described it as an area that's not a great area.
Okay.
I walked about 10 miles a day and was exhausted. I could barely function. I had almost memorized every address in that area. One night, I had a dream about one of the addresses. This was 23 years ago, and she actually gives the address. It was a house with a big yard. It was semi nice compared to the others, but it never got any mail. I had never seen anyone at the house. I remember clearly seeing the address above the door in my dream. I woke up and thought it was weird that I dreamed about that house. The next day, I delivered that route and the house had mail. I thought it was weird that I had dreamt about it and it had mail the next day after 8 months of nothing. So I was a bit freaked out. I went up to the door and it was open. There was a box fan in the doorway. I put the mail in the box on the porch and nothing happened. No one came out, nothing. Then I turn around to walk back to the mail Jeep and there's a dog sitting in the middle of the road staring at me. I had also never seen a dog in this area either. The dog didn't move. It didn't twitch. As I walked, its eyes followed me. I was beginning to get scared about halfway back to the Jeep, and it barked one time and continued to stare. I turned around and walked backward toward the Jeep, not taking my eyes off the dog. The dog came a little closer and barked one more time. By now, I'm sitting in the Jeep, and it's in the middle of the road. It stares at me, then looks behind itself to a hill full of trees. You can't see it, but there is or was a gravel path that leads into the trees away from everything. I sometimes parked in the trees where no one could see me to take my break. The dog wanted me to follow it into the trees. This frozen dog that didn't blink was motioning for me to go into the trees with it. I got scared and drove on. Right. And she didn't. I got scared and drove on down the road. I don't remember if the dog sat there or wasn't there anymore. I'm not sure if I looked back. I went home shocked and told my kids about the weird dog. A week or so later, I was walking down the road in that area in a back neighborhood. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning and no one was out. It was nice outside and I'm walking as fast as I can so I can finish on time. I have my headphones in, but the battery went dead so I don't hear anything. I'm always looking around in this neighborhood because it can be kind of dangerous. This early, though, there isn't ever anyone awake. I'm on the right sidewalk walking up a little rise, and out of the left corner of my eye, I see a black guy motioning to me. Step off the curb and starts lightly jogging toward me, holding his hand out. This happens a lot as people want to ask about their mail. I wonder how I didn't see him before and why he's up at this hour, but pull my headphones out and turn to talk to him. His hand reaches my shoulder just as I pull the headphone out to turn and say good morning. There's no one there. There's no guy anywhere. I turn around in circles in case he dipped behind me. Nothing. I saw him on the curb. I saw him step down from the curb. I saw him wave and reach out his hand to me. I saw him reaching for my shoulder, but there was no one anywhere. I jumped into the Jeep and skipped the entire street.
Oh my gosh.
I should mention that I did not have my own route, but delivered 2 routes of 5 other people on their one day off. I rotate around. Depending on their schedules, I would do 1 route for a week or not do it for a month, just depending on their days off and vacation. These 2 incidents just happened to be on the same route on different days. The next week, I was scheduled to do a route that I rarely ever did. That guy never took time off and worked his off days for extra money. Okay. I do have to mention again that I have been through a lot in my life and nothing shocked me. I was not a nervous person and took all of this in stride. I didn't decide what it meant or give it much thought at all, other than it was weird and a bit scary. I didn't tell anyone. I just kept going through life. I'm still very calm, even during chaos.
So she covered for that guy that never takes off?
Yes, she kind of interjected here.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Nothing catches me off guard. I get over things fast and always look to the positive, even when I shouldn't. That being said, I did this route I barely knew. It took me far back into the neighborhoods on the edges where there were old abandoned buildings and lots of vacant lots. I was all by myself, but I've never been bothered by anyone, so I felt fairly safe. You do get an occasional drug deal, but you just don't notice and keep going. I was driving along with my mail. It was really just house, 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 house as fast as you could. There's not much time to stop or think about things. You're not even supposed to talk to people because it wastes time. I'm way in the back with some abandoned houses. Across the street is a field where a little business used to be, but there's only houses on one side of the road. I'm delivering to 2 houses, then moving the Jeep along with me as I go, then 2 more houses on the porches. I have my headphones in and I deliver to this mailbox, one of the few on the street in this area. The next 2 houses have boxes on the porch. I start to feel weird, but I don't know what it is. I keep going and pull up in front of this house. As I get the mail together, I have a sudden strong feeling that I shouldn't get out of the Jeep. I look around for dangerous people or barking dogs, pull my headphones out. Nothing. No one anywhere. I look back at the house. It's tiny and old. There's a car in the driveway. The other houses are spaced out, so there's nothing close to this house. I don't see anything to be afraid of. I take 1 step out of the Jeep toward the house and stop dead in my tracks. I have that feeling you get when you're a little kid and you're afraid of the dark and want to run.
I know that feeling quite well.
I still get that feeling. I take 1 step out of the Jeep toward the house. Oh, I said that already. I look around again and there's nothing. I tell myself how crazy I'm being and I force myself into that yard. As I get closer to the porch, I look up and my attention is drawn to the attic vent and the peak of the house. There's nothing up there because it's a tiny square 1-story house, but I can't stop looking at it. It's making me even more afraid. I decide that I will throw the mail in the box and run back to the Jeep. Just as I get to the door, it opens and scares me even more. But it's a 16-year-old girl. Nothing scary about her. She looks like she's been crying or really upset. She says thank you and goes back inside without giving me much thought. I thought, see, you're acting crazy. There's nothing wrong with that house. I finish work laughing at myself for being silly, go home, and turn on the TV. There's the 16-year-old girl. She's on the news crying because the night before, her father and boyfriend were shot and killed in some crime. I was floored. All I can figure is their spirits were in the house. They were bad people and something evil was still hanging around. I still don't know, but I never delivered their mail again. I skipped to their house and the 2 on each side every time I had to deliver that route, which again wasn't often. Soon after that, twice I dreamed someone was leaning over me telling me something. I couldn't see who it was. They were wearing a long black cloak. I couldn't see them. It was like I was watching a movie and watching them lean over my bed and whisper in my ear. After that, I decided I had done something wrong. I threw all of the books away, even though I didn't finish reading them. I prayed and prayed and prayed about it, but never saw anything like that again. I was 29, and the weird things stopped happening. My friend and I had just watched, you're going to like this, Practical Magic.
Oh, yay. Great movie.
And we're dreaming of the wonderful men that would come into our lives because I was totally Sandra Bullock and she was Nicole Kidman. This cracks me up because I used to joke that Jessica lived her life like she was Sandra Bullock in a movie.
I wish I could have been.
All of the
Practical
different
Magic. It was about sisters too.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra Bullock, magic, and sisters. Like trifecta.
You're such a dork. Okay. I got out the tarot cards. I bought them because they were pretty and I like artsy things. I didn't want to throw them away because I really loved the artwork and pretended to use what I had read to ask her questions. We answered a few questions with the cards, and she protested that I already knew the answer to most of the questions, so it didn't mean the cards were working. So I started asking the cards questions and not telling her what I was asking. I had known her since I was 15, and she was my longest friendship, even though she was abusing me narcissistically, and I was too beaten down to defend myself. She has a child, and I knew she had lied about who the father was. When she got pregnant, she told me, OMG, so-and-so can't be the father. It must be so-and-so, not the guy she convinced to marry her. You have so many stories. You have so many episodes we can have you on. Then the next day, she changed her story. So I started asking the cards if she had lied. Yes. Was this other guy the father? Yes. Did she know what I was asking the cards? She is worried about the questions. I'm looking at her after each question. She is fidgeting, and I think she knows. I ask the cards if her son will ever know the truth. No. Did the real father know? Yes. All of the answers were lining up with what was going on and everything that had happened. I started to get a little weirded out, but still didn't believe you could talk to cards. I ignored it. A few weeks after watching Practical Magic, she comes in with this magazine article from Cosmopolitan Magazine, our guide to all things dating related. It says, magic spell to find love in 7 days. She said she was going to do it, even though she was already dating someone. I told her I couldn't do it because it was witchcraft and I was a Christian and couldn't do anything like that. She reads it and realizes she doesn't have the things it requires: pink candles, rose oil, etc. She gives me a hard time that she's going to find love, and I'm not because I won't go along with her. I read the spell and all that goes into it and tell her again I won't do it. Evidently, my standards were that pretending to talk with spirits with cards was okay, but completing a week-long incantation was wrong. 29 is so young. Life is rough. I am lonely. My friend has moved in and is living off of me, even though I am getting further and further behind in my bills, and I'm about to be homeless if something doesn't change. That week, I had completely given up and begged God to change my situation. I told him I just couldn't do it anymore. My life was full of trauma caused by other people, and that I simply could not go on living like this. About the same time, I decided that doing a spell was wrong, but partaking in a week-long prayer was not. Way to manipulate the situation. I read the spell and bought the candles and rose oil. I followed the instructions of making a detailed list of exactly what I wanted my new love to be like. Just like Practical Magic, I told God I was adding a catch so that I would know that the person was really sent by him and not just some random guy. I said brown hair and blue eyes, had to go to church, be kind and loving, have enough money that I could stay home, that I would be the love of his life. He had to be a Pisces, things I learned from my astrology book, and blah, blah, blah. But he had to sing, and I changed my mind several times. Garth Brooks, to make you feel my love to me, so I would know it was him. I should mention that at this time, also
That's
to keep
also from another Sandra Bullock movie, isn't it? Isn't it from the one where she divorces her husband from Chicago and they move back to, I think it's Tennessee, and where she was the prom queen? It has Harry Connick Jr. in it.
Yeah. Maybe.
It is. The movie's from, or that song is from that movie.
I mean, you would know. Maybe this is Sandra Bullock.
Oh my God. I would be so starstruck.
Okay, so I should mention that at this time also, to keep from being bored, I was writing a romance novel. Oh my gosh, Laura, we need that. We need that novel. The main guy was the oldest brother of 4, at first 5, and he had 2 close family guy friends. I had just had my 29th birthday and just told my mom that I guess I wasn't having any more children because I didn't want to have any more after 30, and I was out of time. Okay, I started at 35. I set up the candles, rubbed the rose oil on them, lit them, and prayed for an hour each night before I went to bed. Several nights I fell asleep praying. I was serious about it, but not at all expecting to meet someone at the end of the week. The 7-day praying period was over that Friday. Nothing happened. Saturday, nothing happened. Then a friend from work calls and says there's a guy I met a few months ago while delivering in another town. He works with her husband at the post office, and on Friday, she gave him my number. The 2 of them decided after all of those months that they should hook us up. She wanted to ask if it was okay and tell me that he was going to call. I was intrigued, but still dismissive. He called. We talked. We met at McDonald's and talked. He talked about himself for 3 hours and never once asked if I wanted anything. I assumed he was nervous and ignored it. He was okay, but a bit nerdy. He had a "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet, and that caught my interest. I had never gone out with a guy that went to church. Even though I told him we would only go out as friends, we talked every night after that. After a few weeks, I compared him to the list and realized that he was a Pisces, had brown hair and blue eyes, went to church, made as much money as me, came from a seemingly excellent family, was the oldest of 4 boys, had a 5th brother, but he died in childbirth.
Oh.
I knew he liked country music, so we listened to it all the time when he was at my house. I didn't want him to move in because of the kids, but we were kind of serious and not seeing other people. One day, we're at my house, the radio is on, and I'm cleaning out the living room. Garth Brooks comes on the radio, and he walks out of the kitchen singing "To Make You Feel My Love." To this day, I'm convinced he found that list somewhere and read it. I wasn't even sure I really liked him. Long story short, we've been married 22 years.
Oh,
We immediately got pregnant, and I had my last baby 1 month before I turned 30. I can't find where I mentioned it, but just after my 29th birthday, right before this happened, I had told my mom I wasn't having children over 30 and that I guessed it was too late for me to meet someone and have one. Well, that worked out too. This guy acted weird in ways I wasn't accustomed to, and I started to back out of the marriage, but being reassured by the song, I married him anyway. I didn't figure out was wrong for 20 years, but that's another story.
It is Hope Floats. That's the name of the movie, Hope Floats.
Oh, right. And her name's Hope, right?
No.
Oh.
Wait,
we all float down here.
Something was wrong with them and she found out after 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that's another story. We're booking you up for like the next 20 episodes.
Good grief.
I know. Okay, we get married. We immediately buy a house. This guy is the best thing that's ever happened to this poor little girl from a broken home. I experienced the most peaceful, wonderful 2 years of my life during this time. Then bad things started happening. I hate that I'm giving you my life story, but it seems as if the events in my life are important to the things happening. I don't know. I've never told anyone all of this. I'm sure most of my friends will know little bits, but all at once, I've never looked at it like this before. It seems even more strange altogether. I might want to remain anonymous. And so you are. We bought a house in town from the older lady who grew up in the house. After noticing evidence of medical equipment around the house, I joked with the realtor who showed us the house, "I hope no one died in here." She made a weird face, and I told her I was joking and didn't care about silly stuff like that. Turns out, both of the owners did die in the house at different times of old age. The older lady liked us so much, she went down $10,000 just so we could afford to buy it. She said she hated to sell it and would want to visit it sometimes. The night after we moved in, my daughter, who was around 14, says that she has a weird dream. An old lady kept waking her up, wanting to know what she was doing there. I took her seriously, but told her she only dreamed that because she knew that 2 old people had died in the house several years before. We go on unpacking. That night, someone wakes me up, pulling on my leg. It's an old lady, and I can see her outline, but I can't see her face. She's almost a shadow, but I can see her clothes. I'm awake, but not awake. In the dream, I kind of sit up and talk to her, but I notice that my body does not sit up. She wants to know why we are there, but her mouth does not move. I also do not hear sound. I see a few colors, but no sound. I completely understand what she's saying as if she is speaking words. I do not find this weird. I just want to go back to sleep because I'm tired from moving. I tell her we live here and to go back to sleep. I immediately wake up and sit up straight. In the dream, I had been sitting up. The next morning, I wake up remembering the dream and tell everyone jokingly that my daughter must have rubbed off on me and that I dreamed an old lady was pulling on my leg trying to wake me up. My daughter's eyes lit up and she said, "She pulled on my leg. I didn't tell you that she pulled on my leg. How can it be a coincidence if I didn't tell you and you had the same dream?"
Hmm.
But from all those previous weird things, I thought the best thing to do was to ignore it. And the other stuff went away. This would too. About a month goes by and I have the dream again. This time the lady is angry that we are there. She wants me to leave. Again, she pulls on my leg. I sit up and talk to her. I tell her that we bought the house and we can't leave, that we are staying and she should go away. I ask her who she is and she shows me an old photo like from the 70s. It's her, but she's not old. She's dressed differently. Her hair is brown and I can tell it's from a photo studio because it has a solid blue background. And tell everyone about the dream, but the kids think it's cool. My husband doesn't believe in any of it. Meanwhile, we keep smelling cigarette smoke, but the smell moves around the house. You can follow it as it moves down the hall and disappears. Other times, there's a strong smell of roses, like rose soap or something. It too moves around, and you can follow it for a few feet while it moves. A while later, I estimate these dreams to be about a month apart. I have the dream again. Old lady, fluffy hair, skirt, very polite, but upset, no face, wants me to leave. Now, by this time, I have done some online research, circa the year 2000. Not much on the internet, but some. It says if you are bothered by spirits, you can forcefully tell them to go away. So this time, I'm over being woken up, and when she tells me to go away, I yell, in the dream that's clearly not a dream, for her to go away and leave me alone. The words barely leave my mouth when this roar comes out of her. It was so loud, I was sure it woke everyone in the house up. It was scary. Then, as the roar ended, she caught her breath like she couldn't breathe, coughed a little, and disappeared. Again, about a month later, she's back. I have the dream again. I'm sitting up, but my body isn't. She's trying to talk to me, but either can't or I can't understand her. She's pointing to my bedroom closet and waving a stack of papers at me. I tell her that I don't understand. Again, she waves the papers at me, then points to a dresser, which is suddenly in the dream, that I remember seeing when we viewed the house. I don't know if she wants me to read the letters, but she's pointing at the closet again. I wake up and I'm totally freaked out. I was afraid to be home alone. The kids whose bedrooms are in the basement say that the basement is scary. I was alone in the house one night when I heard the torture light turn off. Torture?
I don't know what that is.
It's light.
Thanks.
It has a knob that clicks when it's turned. I heard it click when it went off. I reassure myself that it's nothing and I get up to turn it back on. As I get to the lamp, I hear the click and it turns back on. I was afraid to tell anyone what was going on. As I deliver the mail to its Catholic church, I decide to leave a note because I don't know who to talk to. I think I'm going crazy and don't want anyone to know. I write a little note that says, I think I have a ghost in my house. I'm beginning to get scared. I don't know what to do. Here's my name and phone number. I leave it on the table in the entryway and rush out of there before anyone sees me. I was hopeful someone would call me discreetly and help out. Nothing happened. Then it ended. No more dreams. The lady went away. We're still scared, but it goes away over time. I know that the lady who grew up in the house lives really close, but I don't want her to think I'm crazy either, so I write it all down in a letter, thinking I will just mail it to her. I never did, but still have the letter. A few years go by, and my husband finds a stack of letters in a brown paper bag up in the rafters of the unfinished part of the basement. I do not connect the two things at the time. We decided to give them back to the woman who sold the house to us. My husband is taking a walk. He comes back and tells me that the woman's front door was open and he talked to her a little bit about it. I was horrified, but decided to go back and see if she was still there. I halfway tell her what happened and asked if she had a picture of her mother. She leaves and comes back with what I think is going to be that old photo, but it wasn't. The lady in the photos is the lady from the dream. She tells me that her grandson goes to school with my son and that my son went to school and told the grandson that his great-grandmother was still in the house. I apologized, and she says if anyone's going to try to talk to you, it would be her. She's completely calm about it. I then try to explain the letter dream to her, and I'm half blowing it off because I don't want to sound any crazier than I already do, having shown up at her house as it's getting dark, spouting stories about dead people. And she tells me the letters were hers. That was her bedroom. She used to keep them in that dresser, then move them to the closet as she got older. They were from her father to her when she was growing up, and he worked out of town. I could have died right there. So I go one further and tell her about the dream where she screamed at me. She said that she'd never seen her mother scream, that she died of lung problems and had trouble breathing.
Hmm.
Other than my then 2-year-old telling me he was afraid of the man on the ceiling while staring at the ceiling, everything calmed down until about 4 years later. I want to know more about that. It just gets
Okay.
crazier all the time. Like I said, my husband never saw anything. Other than one night, lying in bed, he jumped up straight and said he looked into the doorway and thought he saw someone standing there looking at us. He said he didn't really believe any of it until then. I was looking in the direction of the doorway and didn't see anything. My oldest son never saw anything. My daughter never had another dream. I started sleeping with the TV on and the dreams went away. I did wake up one night and see someone waking me up. I simply said to myself, not this again, and went back to sleep. It wasn't the old lady, it was a younger lady in a weird dress. Now it's 2004. We have spent the last 4 years watching Ghost Hunters and laughing about all the weird things that had happened. Everything is blissful. I'm still chasing my life of light and peace from that dream from a long time ago, even though I don't realize that's what I'm doing. I'm always improving things, always trying to be more calm and centered, always trying to be the best person I can be. I no longer stress about many things and just do whatever I have to do to keep the family rolling. I'm going to church, listening to the radio at work, trying to be a good wife, blah, blah, blah. I haven't talked to my mother in about 4 years because of some things she did that prevented me from being a part of her life for a while. I have no other family in town except for a sister who is a little crazy at this time and has lost 2 of her children. She had an 8-year-old that I'd never met. I work 70 hours a week and I'm homeschooling my daughter through high school. Life is crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Then I have a tiny dream one night that I don't remember. I just remember waking up with a feeling that God wanted me to finally deal with my family. I laughed and thought, that's not happening. My life is finally calm and nice, and I like it like this. A few weeks after that, I get a phone call from my sister that all of these bad things are happening and that mom is trying to take her youngest child from her. I tried to give her the information as to whom to call to get help and legal assistance and do my best to stay out of it. I email a few people in the county government and go about my business. I figured she would figure it out, and I try not to talk to her any more than I have to. My family had a way of pulling me in and wanting me to fix all their problems. I was not falling for it this time. My kids are going to church, go to private school on a scholarship. I have it together. Then my sister calls, says she's going to court, and asks if I will take her. Mom is taking her to court for custody, and she does not have a ride. I reluctantly agree, but stay in the lobby because I am not involved. After a little while, a court person comes out and asks me to come into the courtroom. They're
That's terrible.
I know. They are taking my nephew away from his mother until they can sort things out and want to know if he can go home with me. I have not seen the child since he was about 2. He's now 8. I have a 4-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 16-year-old, and an 18-year-old already.
Oh
I
my
rec-
goodness.
right. I reluctantly agree so he won't go to foster care and tell my husband we have another child for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks went on for 4 years and ended up with me having only slept 2 nights out of the week before dropping him off at a special group home in Knoxville.
Oh.
My nephew has been abused by my mother's husband and neglected by his mother, who had mental issues. He never attached to people as a child and was thought to be a sociopath, but they couldn't confirm. His
Mm.
father made meth in his house, and all of the child's belongings smelled like drugs. I bring the child home not knowing what is going on or what is going to go on. We love him and clean him up. He stays wrapped in a blanket 24/7, and his nose runs constantly from the chemicals in his father's house. We send him to the same Christian school, make him Halloween costumes, take really good care of him. He never adjusts to this life and is constantly sneaking around to abuse the 4-year-old. So her 4-year-old.
Oh
He
my gosh.
tells he tells the 4-year-old that we don't love him and are going to sell him. He tries to trick the 4-year-old into drinking water that he urinated in. He drinks, yeah, he drinks the pee water to prove that he didn't pee in it, then runs through the house screaming that he's dying. He pees on the 4-year-old in the middle of the night. He defecates in a trash can in the basement because I asked him to stop getting up in the middle of the night. We care for him just like he is our own. He goes through counselor after counselor with no progress. Meanwhile, we have made him more presentable to others, which he uses to lure other children in. He attempts to abuse children at school and steals everything he can get his hands on. He stole almost every marker in his 4th-grade class. Before we could get him into the Christian school, he went to a different elementary for a year where he convinced his teachers that we were mean to him and didn't feed him. He's naturally very thin, like his dad. He begs for money everywhere we go, from strangers. He stays up all night getting into everything to the point he has to be medicated to go to sleep at night. Whatever we do, he works around it. In the 4 years he lived with us, it became him abusing us in every way imaginable. My husband refused to help with the kids at all. I ended up staying up most nights to keep an eye on him and eventually quitting my job to watch him. During this time, his father dies of cancer from the chemicals. His father was a really nice guy who would never hurt anyone. He just became addicted to drugs at a very early age, like my sister. We were the next of kin, so I had to arrange his cremation. I wanted to say crematation for some reason. His family couldn't afford a burial plot, but were raising money to put his ashes in his sister's grave with her. He idolized his father, kept thinking we were keeping him from his father, so you can imagine what a rough time this was. I think she went back to talking about the child. One day, I made it home from work early and managed to find time for a 30-minute nap. I was so tired, I was almost crying. My husband agreed to watch the kids while I slept. As soon as I lay down, I fall asleep. The next thing I remember is my nephew's father tapping me on the shoulder to wake me up. I didn't want to wake up and tried not to listen to him. At this time, I thought I was awake and that he was there. I didn't realize what was happening. He tried to talk to me, and I buried my face in the pillow even harder. I told him I was sorry, but I only had a little time to take a nap. He continued talking. Then I woke up. As soon as I woke up, I realized that it had happened again. I remembered what I could of the dream and still wish I had paid attention. He looked just like himself and not like the old lady, but he seems really clean and shiny, like he had just stepped out of the shower. I couldn't figure out what it was exactly, just that he was so extra clean. His clothes were clean. He almost sparkled. He sat down next to the bed on a stool or chair that was not there. He told me he was so sorry to bother me, but he wanted to tell me thank you for taking care of his son. He said I know. He said I was doing a good job and that he appreciated everything I was doing. He said some more things that I don't remember. Then he looked up toward the door like someone was talking to him. The door was behind me. Then he said he had to go and said more things that I don't remember. I remember him walking out the bedroom door with someone, but I couldn't see them. 2 weeks later, my husband told me that we had brought his ashes home and that they had been in the basement the whole time. They were gone now. The family had picked them up. He didn't want to freak me out.
Hmm.
We had my nephew from 8 until 12. In those 4 years, he devastated both me and my children. My husband, irritated that I didn't pay more attention to him, seemed unmoved by any of it. My children will attest that it's not just the abuse we receive from the child that harms you. It's the knowledge that there are people like this in the world. It's the knowledge that children are abused to this extent and that these children have to live these lives. In contrast to their own, his life was a nightmare that he had learned to enjoy and inflicts upon those around him. Every single second that you were not looking directly at him, he was stealing something of yours, breaking things, carving his name in the floor, stabbing himself with ink pens to make bruises that he could show off at school and blame you for. To be directly attacked by a child for 4 years, all the while trying to love and protect him, takes an extreme toll on you. I got weaker and weaker and more tired. I was experiencing some sort of adrenal fatigue, but I could not take care of myself. I had taken so many days off from work before I quit that I wasn't allowed to take off for me. I didn't see a doctor this entire time. My children were growing distant, staying in their rooms mostly. My oldest son became acting strange. My oldest son began acting strange and becoming defiant in ways I had never known him to. I slept on the couch so I wouldn't wake my husband while I stayed up most of the night to watch my nephew, who still wasn't sleeping. I slept all day while he was at school. And it wasn't just the actions that were horrifying. At one point, this 12-year-old looked at me, and it wasn't him. I could see darkness and evil looking back. I knew I saw it. It wanted me to see it, and it wanted me to be afraid. And that sentence was bolded.
It's creepy too.
I know. It acknowledged me and knew that I acknowledged it. Then his face went back to normal. I cannot stress enough that I am not the type of person who looks for these things. I'm not having seances, trying to contact the afterlife. I'm a young, normal mother of 4. My kids are in Christian school. I'm grocery shopping, trying to figure out dinner, doing laundry, and keeping up with the bills. We are going to church, and we do not believe in ghosts, really. According to the Lutheran Church, people go directly to heaven or otherwise as soon as they die. There is no in between. I was trying hard to hold to that belief. That belief was also keeping me from telling anyone. I didn't want anyone to think I was weird. My life was difficult enough without being that crazy woman. I was rationalizing it all away in any way possible. My husband is growing more and more distant, and I'm afraid all of the difficulty, which I blame myself for bringing into the family, is affecting him. I lay in bed every night praying, asking God for answers, asking God to show me what to do. I ask God, why is this happening? I'm a good person. I'm trying so hard. I've always tried so hard to do the right things. Why are you letting this happen? Am I supposed to be some sort of supernatural warrior? I'm not suited for that. I'm quiet. I'm timid. I just want a simple life. You want me to fight demons? Every night I went to bed praying to God to make it end. I went to bed and turned off the lights. I could feel the evil. I could feel something in the room. I could feel the sense of evil and dread, but assumed it was coming from inside me. I thought I was overwhelmed by stress and it was affecting my dreams, but I was awake when I felt it. I was too scared to fall asleep, so I prayed for protection every single night until I would fall asleep praying in my head. During this time, I went to see a counselor for about a year, and she had given me a prayer to pray during the most scary times. She was a Christian counselor and would just sit and listen to me cry for an hour each time. She never did find anything wrong with me. I guess she just figured I needed an outlet and let me cry. As I said before, it came to the point so we could no longer take care of my nephew. We had come to an impasse that the counselors described as him realizing there were no real consequences to his actions. He had been neglected to the point that only depended on himself. He only reacted to his own thoughts and not the ideas of others, and he realized that no one would really do anything to him. I believe he became a complete sociopath at that point. We managed to find a special level 2 group home in Knoxville that would take him. He was only allowed to bring his clothes, favorite toys, not much else. The house was a group home with 6 other kids. Everything in the house, including food, was locked up so that they couldn't get into anything. The house parents were trained to deal with these special children. A week before my nephew left, I had thrown my back out and could barely walk around. I was rarely getting more than 2 hours of sleep a night. My children were practically comatose from all they had gone through. As we drove him to Knoxville, he was excited for his new adventure, but I got the first sleep I had in 3 full days. We signed him in, made sure he was settled in okay, and with a change, then left. I had thought it was over. I thought we would immediately go back to normal, but the 5 years that followed were full of sleep and recovery and a feeling of complete mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion. For almost a year, I didn't leave the house unless I had to. I thought I was dying. I was so empty. I couldn't imagine life after having lived through all of it. My husband convinced me that all of it was in my head, but we found out later that I had mononucleosis. No idea where I got it, but I made it through untreated. The feeling of evil didn't go away. My oldest son was still distant and acting strange. I attributed it to everything that had happened, but he completely cut himself off from me, and we had always been close. One night, tired and sad about his situation, I went to his room to sit next to him on the bed. The room was completely dark, and he was a deep sleeper, so he didn't notice I was there. I put my hand on his head and rubbed his hair. I closed my eyes and began praying the Lord's Prayer. This is something I had never done. We were all very quiet about our faith and are unfortunately not a family that prays together unless it's over dinner. It was already dark, but when I closed my eyes, it became even darker. As I was praying and touching him, asking God to help him through this, then something dark, something darker than the already pitch black room floated out of him, past me, past my face, and disappeared. I opened my eyes to see what it was, to try to understand what had happened, but there was nothing there. I thought that maybe something passed in front of my face, maybe his hand or something, anything, but there was nothing there, and he was still asleep. I went back upstairs and went to bed. A few nights later, the feeling of dread came back at bedtime. I was always the last person to go to sleep. My husband fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. I don't know how else to describe it other than that feeling we all get sometimes, like something is in the room, like someone is watching us. It's not that I was thinking about it. It was just suddenly there, but worse than normal. I woke up in the middle of the night feeling like something was standing next to the bed. I went back to sleep and suddenly something was covering my face. My eyes were closed and I could feel it there. I almost stopped breathing, but opened my eyes. As soon as I opened my eyes, the black thing slid slowly off my face, like someone was pulling a thin black pillowcase off my head. I watched it slide off, and the light returned as it moved. As it got to the top of my head, it broke apart into what I can only describe as little spiders that crawled away. When I sat up, it was completely gone. Although the bad feeling wasn't completely gone, it still felt so much better. And then this, I was at my end. I just gave up and told God, if you want me to dream about things, fine, I'll dream about things. If you want me to experience this, fine, I will go through it. The next night and the last of the strange things happening was the most horrifying thing I can imagine, but at least it's over. I had decided to go back to sleeping on the couch. The bedroom was scary, and I was afraid that black thing, dream, nightmare would come back. So I grabbed a blanket and slept in the living room. The room was dark except for the street light a block from the house. There was a little light coming through the window directly in front of the house. I was asleep, completely asleep, when all of a sudden I think I'm awake. I thought I had woken up and was experiencing something awake. That's how real this was. I thought I was completely awake. The room was exactly the room I went to sleep in. I could hear my husband snoring softly in real time. I was fully awake, but had my eyes still closed. I could feel that weird feeling of evil getting strong and stronger and closer to me. It was all over me and around me, still laying on my back on the couch with my eyes closed. So I started praying the Lord's Prayer while I was still asleep. There was a conscious decision, even though evidently I was still asleep. As I'm saying the Lord's Prayer to myself, the feeling of evil just vanishes and the room is dead, quiet, and still. I slowly open my eyes and slowly turn my head toward the middle of the living room. And I see something standing there looking at me. It was about 3 feet away in the middle of the living room, backlit by the light coming from the window. It is completely still and silent, but staring directly at me, and it almost feels like slow motion at this point. I'm concerned and completely aware of what's going on, but I'm not scared. I realize it's not a man, but a half man-like thing with a lower half of a goat. I can only describe it as a pan-looking thing. It's about 5 feet tall with horns. It looks at me. I look at it. Then it raises its foot and slams it to the ground. There's a loud boom as his foot hits the floor, and the house shakes like an earthquake. My only thought was that everyone would hear it and they would wake up and see this. Then the silence and stillness return, and I wake up and open my eyes, and it's gone. Nothing felt weird. Everything was back to normal, just as it had been when I laid down. For a while, I thought maybe I was still asleep, even though I was sitting up, because the dream didn't feel any different from what being awake now felt like. Only that now my head was moving with my body, and when I sat up, my body actually sat up. I looked around and cautiously went back to the bedroom, but I didn't see it anywhere. It was gone, and it never came back. For the rest of the time we lived in that house, I could not sleep on the couch in that position. I could remember it too clearly and was afraid it would come back. I spend 10 years of sleeping with a TV on and saying my prayers every night. It hasn't come back. The dreams haven't come back. We've moved from that house a little over a year ago. My son still has issues, and at times I feel like I am losing him. He's a 33-year-old man that barely works, has anxiety, and doesn't like to be around too many other people. He stays on the long-term prayer list at the church I now work at. He is still fighting his bad things, I guess, but I am positive he will come back to the light. I pray for him all the time, and especially when I hug him. He even asked me one time as I was hugging him, "You're praying the demon's way, aren't you?" I was. No idea how he knew. I cannot explain any of these things. I chose not to give them much thought or give names to the things I have seen in dreams. Demons, my subconscious working overtime, a little bit of psychic, who knows? I don't seek it out. I just leave them to God and figure he is doing something that I don't understand, but I know everything will make sense and will be okay in the end. I still don't tell people. My husband and kids know, and my cousin asked me to try to dream about her son when he died, but I don't have that capability. It would be nice if I did.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Lord, holy cow. Well, I mean, you haven't said it to many people, but thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Why don't we next week, we'll make it a hodgepodge. We'll share other paranormal situations. We'll get some nursing stories in too.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, maybe we can have a paranormal nurse situation.
Well, I am going on a murder walk tonight, so I will let you know if I have
Yes.
anything from then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, make sure y'all sleep with the light on tonight.
Ooh.
Or the TV.
Or the TV. I keep a rosary on my bed. That
You're
Mom
not
gave.
even Catholic.
Mom gave it to me.
Listen, if you guys want, throw some stories up on our Facebook page of just like little things if you want. Maybe just do it underneath the post of this episode. We'd love to hear some I love the paranormal stuff.
Oh, I do too. I absolutely do too. It's so fascinating.
I do try to I try to explain all of it away.
Do you believe in it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I want to. I really want to. But I feel like I can explain so many things away that I don't know.
Thanks for listening, everybody. You'll get our hodgepodge episode next week. And
please feel free to share any of your stuff with us. We'd love to tell it. It did a great job of writing all this out. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be like, hey, one time there was somebody standing at my window or something. You know, it can be something short, sweet, whatever. Sweet. Short,
mine is
scary.
Mine is my story's short, super short, like a minute.
But you guys, thank you so much. All of you. We hit 1,500 downloads. We're so excited. You guys, thank you so much for listening. Please continue to share with your friends and whomever.
Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sane.
Stay safe. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.